They fight and one wins. It's not the pshat that the one that wins won over the other one, whether it's chuya or hutra. But it makes it so that the one that Kidiyach lost himself is maskim and wants to do the other way. To say normally when we learn whether it's hutra or chuya, this is all a din. Let's use the essay as the example. It's a din in the essay. The essay is so strong. It's a din that the essay is so strong. It's deicha the leises. The essay is so strong. Let's say it's matir the leises. But if we could come out in a case, sometimes when you look into deeper in Inyan, not only is the leises, let's say, lost, but that's the din. The leises itself munt that you should do the other way, which means you're not over on the leises, whether in the form of tchuya or form of hutra. You're mekayim the leises. Imagine, by going against the leises, you're mekayim the leises. You could only come to such an understanding in whichever cases, only if you look into the deeper inyan of what this whole thing means, and when you look into this deeper inyan, you will come out. If you look at the Nakuda, you will come out the two opposites, seeming two opposites. They're not opposites. The two opposites realize the same thing. The one that's losing, which is the opposite of the one that's winning, in itself wants. Now get back now to Shabbos. The Rebbe wants to say that when you say you have a shayla of Ner Shabbos and Ner Chanukah, and you have to make Ner Shabbos not Ner Chanukah, normally you would learn one of the two ways. Or Ner Shabbos is Deicha Ner Chanukah. You only could do one. So there's a fight. Which one should happen? So we say Ner Shabbos is more important. Fine. Or you could say it's Matirit. Comes the Rebbe and the Rebbe says, no, the Rambam wants to teach us that not only do you have to like Ner Shabbos, not Ner Chanukah, because Ner Shabbos wins, you are Mekayim Ner Chanukah by liking Ner Shabbos. Ner Chanukah itself meant that you should like Ner Shabbos, not Ner Chanukah. Why? And that's what the Rambam brings in, that Kol HaTorah Kula Nitna La'aseh Sholom B'Olam. The whole Torah was given to make Sholom. The Teichen of every mitzvah is Sholom. Is Sholom. Imagine if you have a mitzvah that the real Teichen Begilui is Sholom. Ner Shabbos is not just like Tefillin is also Sholom. Every mitzvah is Sholom. Kol HaTorah Kula is Sholom. But there's only one, the mitzvah of Ner Shabbos is B'Peil Sholom. So when you have to light Ner Shabbos instead of Ner Chanukah, Ki'ilu you will say, I'm using these Narish terms, if you'd ask Ner Chanukah, what should you do? So normally you learn Ner Chanukah Shrayim me. Kommt Ner Shabbos Shrayim nicht. And the Torah sagt Ner Shabbos means Ner Chanukah will Amazon blend at Sim Ner Shabbos. Why? Because if the whole Teichen of every mitzvah is Sholem, so the Teichen of mitzvahs Ner Chanukah is Sholem, so you're Mekayim the Teichen, the Nekudah of what Ner Chanukah is. And that's the reason why the Rambam brings in here something extra. Kol HaTorah Kula Nitna La'aseh Sholom B'Olam. It's not the Pesach. It's Maz B'Da'alocha. Why is Ner Chanukah first, Ner Shabbos first? Because Ner Chanukah wants it because Shabbos is the Yikar and you're Mekayim Ner Chanukah. That's why the Rambam doesn't use the Lashon like in the Gemara Odif. Odif would mean Ner Shabbos is better, stronger. The Rambam doesn't bedavke change the Lashon. He says Kodum. Kodum means because B'Peil, you have to tell it which one comes first. But he's not masber that this is better. That Ner Shabbos is better than Ner Chanukah. It's not so. Because when you're lighting Ner Shabbos, you are being Mekayim Ner Chanukah too. The Teichen, the Nekudah of what Ner Chanukah is. And the Rambam brings an example. What's his example? The example is from Mechikas Hashem. Now normally you learn Pshat in the Rambam that Mechikas Hashem is by Saita, that you talk Eivra Yisrael, Mechikas Hashem is a terrible thing. The worst Aveda is to erase the Eivish's name, Shem Havaya. But Sholem Bayis is so important that you're allowed to do it. So that's the Raya normally you learn, and the Rambam brings the same thing here. Ner Shabbos is more important, and that's why Ner Shabbos goes first. But first of all, the Rebbe says, how do you know? Maybe only such a Sholem Bayis, like avoiding the divorce. But Sholem Bayis of Ner Shabbos, maybe not. What's the Raya? That's not what the Rambam means, the Rebbe says. The Rebbe says what the Rambam is telling us, a dugma to such a thing. You write L'chatchila the Eibish's name in order to erase it for Sholem Bayis. Which the Rambam is telling you deeper pshat, that the Mechikas Hashem is a din in the Ksibas Hashem. It's not the pshat there's an Aveda Mechikas Hashem, and the din of Seiter, Sholem Bayis, is Deicha that Isser, is Matik that Isser. No, you look at the Nekudas Inyan is that Sholem Bayis is so strong that you lechatchila right. It's a din Ksivas Hashem. So here I'm using an example of this and that. The other examples I'm going to bring are all along the same line, because in many, many sikhas, actually I make myself a shimmy here of just a few, of 11, that you could see that in every one that ever goes to the same derech, that you see that two opposites, but if you look deeper and you see, you're not mefarad the protein, it's not chrifis, it's not derech hanituach, it's looking at the nekudas ha'inyan, and then you see opposites. It's not opposite, but opposites here. This is opposite because you're going to like the Shabbos, not Ner Chanukah. No, this is Ner Chanukah. Mitzad etzem nekudas ha'inyan. Another example is one of the more famous things when they get in Deicha, Pikuach Nefesh Deicha Kol HaTorah Kula. So we have the famous Chiras, Pikuach Nefesh Deicha Kol HaTorah, or their Matir. Shaila in the Shenis Rambam, Mahin Aher. Same Shaila. When it comes to Pikuach Nefesh and you have to Mechal Shabbos, is the pshat that Shabbos is so important, it pushes away Deicha, the din, the Chil Shabbos, because the Pikuach Nefesh is so important? Or that it's Matir, the din of Chil Shabbos? Comes the Rebbe, and the Rebbe has a different shot. Also, he brings the Rambam as kashas. I'd rather go through more examples than go be ma'arich in each one separately. So maybe I'm not going to say the kashas. But the Rebbe's nekudas inyan there is. It's not the pshat. There's a fight between Chilul Shabbos and the mitzvah Pikuach Nefesh, and Pikuach Nefesh is stronger. Being Mechalel Shabbos is Shmira Shabbos. It's not that the Chilul Shabbos of Pikuach Nefesh is Shmira Shabbos. Why? Just one in the Nekudas he brings. If you look at Rashi brings, like, what's the union of Shabbos? So Rashi says that the Eibusha gave us a Shabbos to show that the Eibusha chose the Yid. It shows the love of the Eibusha to a Yid. When it comes to saving a Yid's life, that's the Nekudah of Shabbos. If the Eibusha gave a Shabbos, ki bono bochar Hashem, this is, so in this case, you're talking physically Mechal Shabbos. But that's not on the Chilul. This is Shmira Shabbos. And the Rebbe goes even a step further here, step more than the Eira Chaim HaKodesh. The Eira Chaim HaKodesh writes that since the Gemara says, Chalal of Shabbos Achas Klei Lishme Shabbos is harder, you Mechalal one Shabbos, so you're able to keep many Shabbosim. So the Eira Chaim writes, when you're Mechalal this one Shabbos, Harei Zeh Shmira Shabbos. You're doing it for the benefit of Shabbos, not that you're fighting Shabbos. So the Rebbe, I'm saying it even deeper. Because according to the Eira Chaim, what the pshat is, it's a dini Shabbos bichlal. Shabbos as a whole is going to gain. You'll be able to keep 100 Shabbos. But this Shabbos you are actually mechalel. And the Rebbe says, even this Shabbos you're not mechalel. Even this Shabbos is called Shmira Shabbos because you're doing now the pula. He says before you even save them, going to do the pula of Chilul Shabbos is fulfilling the teichum, the kudah of what Shabbos is, which is the same gang as over there. You're fulfilling what the meaning of Ner Chanukah is. Then we have a Parshish. This was in Chelek Chav Zayin. The first one is Chelek Tesvav. Parshish Chanukah. This one is Chelek Chav Zayin. Parshish Achrei. Chelek Yudalet. Parshish Shefki. There the Rebbe talks about the opinion of Nevuah. That's the famous Sikha, where the Rebbe says that there is a Shaykhis Nevuah also with Manazeh. Even though Pashtas the Gemara says, Mishamesu Chagis Chari Malachi Posko Nevuah Yisrael, that when the three last Nevi'im passed away, Chagis Chari Malachi is no more Nevuah. And the Rebbe writes a pshat there that doesn't mean there isn't, that means it's not common, but it's still possible, it being zarayah, whatever. But in that sikha, he talks about something else. He talks about if a Navi will come and tell us to be makriv hakorban bebomo. We know you're not allowed to makriv hakorban chutz of the Beis Hamikdash, on the Mizbeach. It's chutei chutz. It's kodesh, it's a terrible thing. Eliyahu Navi nevertheless was makriv hakorban on a bomo, nahar karma. How was he allowed to do it? The answer is, and Navi tells you, al zahiro esho, a temporary din, you have to listen to him even if it means to be over on other isurim. Now normally when it comes out to be over other isurim because the Navi says, how do you learn? One of the two. Or the din of Shmiel and Navi, Eilav Tishmon, is stronger than any mitzvah, except of the Gezorah, but stronger. I'm in this example. The Navi will tell you, B'mchal Shabbos. This Shabbos. He says no more Shabbos, but you know he's a Navi Sheker. This Shabbos, he says, I have a nevuah that you have to be Mechal Shabbos. You have to listen to him. Why? So you could say because the nevuah, the din Navi, the Chi of Elov Tishmon is stronger, is Deiche, the Isser of Shabbos, Chil Shabbos. Or you can go further. It's Matir. So the Rebbe says if you look into the din of a Bama, you'll see a different inyan. It's not the Pshat, you're Deiche, the Isser of Shchuti Chutz, of Shechting a Korban outside of the Beis HaMikdash. You are Mekayim the din of Bama, just like at those days when you were allowed to have a Bama. It wasn't Deichet, saying the Isser Shchuti Chutz is Deiche Bama. There were times when you were allowed to bring a Bama. Allowed to bring a Korban the Bama. That's a din in Korbanos. It's not a din that if it's against Korbanos, Elamai, there's a more important thing. That's a din. When you ask, what's the din of Korbanos? This is the Shabbos. This time the Bama was mutter here. Bama was also. So those times when the Bama was mutter, it's not that the din of shechting outside the Beis HaMikdash was pushed away. That's the din. This is din Korban, just like when you bring the Beis HaMikdash. So the Rebbe brings rayas. And the same thing is by a Navi telling you to bring in a Bama. It's not the pshat that the din of a Navi tells you is because it's matter the Isser of Bama or Deichad Isser of Bama. What he says is, this is a din HaKrovos Korbanos. It's not a din in Nevuah that Nevuah is so strong. When you look into the Emek HaDover of what the Gather of Bama is and you understand it, then you will see that this is a different din. And that's why there's a special posik when it comes to a din Bama, because there's one general posik in the Geya Nevuah, you have to listen to the Navi, Elov Tishmo. But here there's a posik that says that in Tala, Mokim Asher, don't bring Karbanis any place you want. Has to be one place. So the limud in Sifri is that this posik teaches you that if a Navi will tell you to bring the Bama, you're allowed. And the Shaila Rebbe asks, why do we need a special posik? There's a general posik, Elov Tishmo, that tells you every din. Because by din Bama there's another din. It's not Chuyo. It's not Hutra. There's no stira to begin with. The two stiras, the din of that you're not allowed to bring a korban, you have to have the mizbeach. And the other din that you in this case you have to bring is not a stira, it's hainu haf. But that's only if you look into the Teichel in the Kudas Inyan. In Chelek Chabeis, page 214, the short thing there, and the Rebbe says there's a din that if a person wants to learn Torah in a certain place and he thinks he'll be matzliach there, you don't have to listen to your father. Even if your father doesn't want you to go. I don't know, you got to ask a shayla if it happens. Don't just do that. And the Rebbe asks, why is this written in Hilches Kibbud Avein? This should be written in Hilches Talmud Torah. It's why? Because learning Torah is more important than Kibbud Avein. Now, it doesn't go into the Prati Hutra Tchuya, but I'm saying it. What's the pshat? The din of Talmud Torah is Deichad the Chiv of Kibbud Avein. Mater the Chiv of Kibbud Avein. Here it says a different thing. Here it says, the Rebbe is telling us that this is a din in Kibbud Avein. This is called Kibbud Avein. As another place, in Chelik Chav Hey, page 151, there he talks about the Isser of going out of Eretz Yisrael. The Rambam says you could only go out if you're going to learn Torah or to save a Yid, do business. The Isha. So the Rebbe asks, there's another thing. The Gemara tells a story that one of the Amoraim, his mother came to see him in Eretz Yisrael, so he went out of Eretz Yisrael to greet her and bring her to Eretz Yisrael, and you were allowed to do that. And the Meiri Kaki says that you're allowed to go out of Eretz Yisrael to meet somebody to come into Eretz Yisrael. So why doesn't the Rambam bring that too? And the Rebbe says very poshut. You're allowed to go out of Eretz Yisrael, the Lisa Isha, because the mitzvah of Lisa Isha is Deiche the Yisra Mitzvah from Eretz Yisrael. It's Mater the Yisra Mitzvah from Eretz Yisrael. This is part of being in Eretz Yisrael. Since you're going to meet somebody who's coming, so this is a form of coming to Eretz Yisrael, not leaving Eretz Yisrael, even though the Pelmamish you are going out. But that's when you understand the depth. You look into the Nekudas Inyan and you see what Inyan is. If you look superficially, someone's going to look very superficially. What's the story here? It's two dinim. This is going out and there's a din you're not allowed to go out. And here you're telling me to go out. Elamai, meeting the person is so important. It's Deicha the Yisra of going out. But when you look at it, Milmayla Lamata, and you see what this is, it's not the same thing. So they make a joke. This is just to show, this is a crazy example. It's an elementary example. It doesn't fit every case. But just as a joke. They say once they were sitting by Sheva Brachas. There was no Panim Chadoshas. No student, need Panim Chadoshas. Comes Einer mit Tag, Meilike Kasha. I have a good answer. The Gemara says, when the halacha is klei cheres, you cannot kasher. The only thing you can do with it, you put it into an oven, into the kiln, and then you're allowed to become kosher. Why? So the lotion is because panim chadoshes bo come. Because there's a new panim chadosh, it's a new keilah. Frekyan and Ashayla, what's your problem? We have an oven right here. Let's take a klecheres, put it into the oven. We'll take it out. It'll be panim chadoshes. We'll put it on the table. Is ba straighten? Is this a good kasher? Darf suchen a teretz. Mit reinklären. You know what? It's another geder. If you look at Chila, know what you're talking about. If you look at this, is like I said, an elementary example. Some sakasha mit a teretz. Als nicht already doing it. Why? But I steht doch selber Sache. Da steht panim chadoshes und da steht panim chadoshes. It's nicht mehr already doing it. It's not the geder. Same thing here. When you look at certain things, when you look deeper, you look, when the Rebbe looks at Mamayla Mat of all these Gedorim, he sees in the Kudah of Mela, this is some sastira between Ner Chanukah and Ner Shabbos. This is Ner Chanukah. When you don't do Ner Chanukah, this is Ner Chanukah. Be'etzem, not much time, the whole Nekudah of the Rebbe's Chkira, Benegeya, one of the most famous inyonim that the Rebbe deals with. Not only Beruchnius, but Gashmis, and not only that, the Nigla, Yin of Shlichus. The Rebbe Shlichus, before Nekudah Sichus, before there were certain things that were moving from the Rebbe, and the Chkira by Shlichus, Yosef Engel's Chkira, the three ways. Be'etzem, these three ways are the same three ways we're talking about here. Whether Hutra, Tchuya, Hutra, or this thing becomes one. What's the Chkira here? The Chkira here, do we say Shluch Lon K'meisa means that Reuven makes a Shliach Shimon to do something. To Mekadosh Isha. Reuven is Reuven, Shimon is supposed to do it. Torah says Reuven can do it. So you can learn three ways. It's a stira here. We need Reuven to do it. How could Shimon to do it? How could Reuven do it? Him to do it is a stira. So you can learn, let's go first the Pashto ways. One way is that the Torah said that even though the Shliach is not the Meshaleach, and what he did not. Nevertheless, the Torah says that this works. The middle way is that the Torah says that the Pu'ula, the Shliach is not the Meshaleach, but the Pu'ula is a Mesiachis, which means it's connected. We consider it as if he did it. And the third way is the Shliach becomes the Meshaleach. Reuven becomes Shimon. Shluchim K'meisa Mamish. These are the same three ways. The first way is really Tchuya. There's a din that you have to do it yourself. A Mekadosh Isha has to Mekadosh himself. Not somebody else. Somebody else will go Mekadosh is garnished. Here we're saying, yes, someone else will do it. It's a stira to the din that he has to do it. So Tchuya means, Torah was deicha and said, okay, I don't care. It's talking him. What he did is his pula. It's not misachis. But the Torah is deicha that problem, in the case where you're mamana and shliach, the Torah is deicha the problem of being somebody else. The other way is the Torah is not deicha. The Torah is mati. It says allows it. What says allows it? It is misyachis to him. And the third way, the Torah says no. The shliach is einzach. It's the same nekudah that we have hainuach, that something that seems to be the opposite becomes that Indian. If you look into the Emek Adova, you will see here it's three darkest, three fanim, but the nekudah is the same. And this nekudah, why am I bringing it here? It's not the Rebbe's Chiddush, it's Yosef Engel. But the Rebbe has in many places where he has the same gang as we have Ashlichis, which is the opposite direction. Not when you do something. Here's, no, it is, whatever. So you have the same idea. Like just read a few places. Chelek Tazayin, Parshas Yisrei. Look up a Teis for Shabbos. The Rebbe is a Chkira. Shabbos starts from the Shkia, whenever it is Man Shabbos. Then there's a Din Teis for Shabbos. Says, number one shot is, every person has to be makabel upon himself a few minutes before Shabbos. And B'meila, it has a Din of Shabbos. Another Din is, whether you're makabel or not, Bal Korche, you have to keep those minutes. And another Din is, another story is, that Shabbos itself extends to this time before Shabbos. Which really depend three things. Be'etzem, the minutes before Shabbos are not Shabbos. And here we're telling you it is Shabbos. You have to keep Shabbos then. So you could say, it's not the same words, but it's al derech. I'm using this example. Tchuya. What is Tchuya? Sitake nish, sitake not Shabbos, and deswegen the Torah is deicha. That problem, it's not Shabbos. It says it's Shabbos. Then the other way is it's not nor Tchuya, it's Hudra. And therefore the pshat is that it's Be'etzem Shabbos. But it's all mitzvah the not Shabbos itself. There's a din be'etzem that you have to keep those minutes. And the third way is that the Torah said that this man which is not Shabbos became his Shabbos. It's not Shabbos, it's a steer to Shabbos. Sunday is not Shabbos, Friday is not Shabbos. The Torah makes it Shabbos. That Rebbe says that's why the Mechilta, he gives a moshel to taste the Shabbos, he gives a moshel of a ze'ev, like a wolf, it's Teirif, Milofonov, Achrov. What's the adding? So the Rebbe it's adding to tell you it's not the pshat that it's the gavra that you have to. Shabbos itself extends itself. Chelik Chofav of Purim. There it says, the Mishnah says, Megillah Nikras, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Yud Aleph, Tezvov. He asks a few kashas, and the Nekuda is there. When we're talking about those manim, besides Purim and Shushan Purim, the earlier manim that the Bnei, that Machnisi, that Magdimin, the Bnei Kforim, Magdimin, Maknisa, there are three ways to learn it. You can learn one way, it's not the man of the Megillah. Beferish not. Nevertheless, the Torah said, the Chachamim made, you could read it, and you'll be kind the din of Megillah, even though it's not Bisman. Or you could learn, it's not Be'etzim Bisman. But what is it? It's a tashlumin to Bisman. And then the Rebbe says, that's not the pshat. This is the Zman Megillah. Even though it's not Megillah, it's Vidal Tesvov, Mitzad, whatever din the Chachamim had, this Megillah itself, this became the Zman Megillah, which is exactly, again, the same three things. And I'm being Mekatzer in the Mamish. Chelik Chod Gimel Parsha Chukas. Mitpacha Sefer Torah. When you have the cover of the Sefer Torah, there has three ways to learn. You can learn, it's Pashat for the person should carry hold of the Sefer Torah. It's a din of the Gavra, you should give cover to Sefer Torah. Or, it's not in the Gavra, it's for the cover of the Sefer Torah itself. I'm saying the Bekitzer. Or, this becomes part of the Sefer Torah. Just like the Gillion of the Sefer Torah, even though it's not written anything on it, is Sefer Torah. The Mitpachas is Sefer Torah. And here you have the same three. You have a Sefer Torah and you have something which is not a Sefer Torah. You can't say that not a Sefer Torah is yes a Sefer Torah. You could say it's Luhutcha, you could say it's Hutra, and the Rebbe goes into the Eimek Adover and says, no, this is Sefer Torah. Parsha Kisove says if you bring a Kela by Bikurim, in Chelik Chofutes, when you bring Bikurim and you bring it in a Kela made of reeds, you have to give it away together with the Bikurim. So he has three ways. Is this a din Nesina? You have to give this a din Bikurim, there's a separate din. But nothing to do with the Bikurim. There's a din that when you give Bikurim, and if you bring that, you have to give it. Or, it's because of the Bikurim, it goes together with the Bikurim. Or, this is part of the Bikurim. It's not. Bikurim is Shavamim, and whatever it is, this is a basket. It becomes part of the Bikurim. In Chelik Chavzayim, Parshas Azriya, Mechusa Kippurim. Like I said, this is only an example. Only 11 examples. In Parshas Chukas, Azriya, Chelik Chavzayim, Mechusa Kippurim. What's the Mechusa Kippurim? Somebody who was Tomei, but he has to bring a korban. Certain tumas have to bring a korban. He went to mikveh. He had Harif Shemesh. What's the Mechusa Kippurim? So the Rebbe brings in one place, in the Gemara says, the Loshen, that he's still Tomei. The Rambam uses the Loshen, Le'nigmer Tarosei, and Rashi and Chumash says, Kruyot Tomei. And the Rebbe goes into the same way here. He goes into the three Nekudas, the three different ways of looking at it. You could look at it, he's Beferish, not Tomei. There's a din that he has to behave in certain things as if he's Tomei, but he's not. It didn't change. That's his only Korei Tomei. Or you could say no. Le'nigmer Tarosei. Or you could say he's Mamish Tomei. To these dinim, obviously, whatever the dinim are, because other dinim is not, but the God of those dinim, he's as Tomei as I is not Tomei. He went through the Torah, so the Torah Nish does it. We see this gang in the Rebbe Siches of these. This is just an example of one gang. The gang of, as I said, the three Inyonim Bashliches, the three Inyonim Bahutrat Chuya, the Rebbe says Bachanike, and by Pikuch Nefesh. This is a gang of the way the Rebbe goes in many things, because when you look deeper into the Inyan, you see the Nekuda, like using the example of Pikuch Nefesh. If you look at the Nekuda of what Shabbos is, not in the Pratim, you'll understand right away. Versteitzach is the same thing, because this is in the Nekudas Inyan. And this was the Rebbe's Derech HaLibud. This is how it's in the Nekudas Siches. And this is how the Rebbe, and the Rebbe writes, you do a darki, is Derech Derech and the Rebbe adds the Shitosi, a lot of times the Shitosi, which is connected all to this. When you look in the Nekudas Inyan, then you come out with the Shitosi, that two things happen to be the same thing. And that we see in many places about the Rebbe Shitose. What's the whole Nekuda? The Rebbe says, Gekocht in the Shitose. Why? The Shitose means that even though they're two separate sugyas, the Rebbe can make the Shitose from Beini B'Klotz. You see, there are some people, and I'll just finish in a second, the Pelish Derech, you find zwei weite Sachen and you make it the Shitose. And the Loshin would be, and the Rebbe himself used to laugh at it sometimes. dass sie zugestellt Avant zu Avant. It's nothing. And the Rebbe sometimes does the same thing. But when you look where the Rebbe does it, he goes into the Emek HaNekuda of what both things are. Musitaka, the Gank from Seichel that's in both is the same thing. The Tziyur is Andish. And you can have from one Nekuda, comes out to the opposite Tziyur. Al Capone, one thing is for sure, we have to learn the Sichas, and later on I'm going to explain it from a different angle. And one thing is also for sure, if you learn the Sichas, you know the Sichas, Hotman Als, Erstens, you're a big lam, you're a big masculine chassidus, you're a big avid, because all the Aveda, you know everything. So, besides everything that learning the Rebbe stated, that's the greatest discussions that Shachas, today's Hayim Yem, so the Rebbe should help them, so lernen the Sichas, and so bald sein, Teire Chadosh with the Teitze, we should see, nu Teire, nu Inyonim, so sein Gile, Lakuzbe, Korev Mamish, with the coming of Mashiach, so Zebit Rebbe, Dolamata.
Break from Mincha. Right after that, we'll have what we're all waiting for, the behind-the-scenes story about the Likutei Sichos, the Rebbe's writing the Sichos. There is the chelik with the Chaluk of the Likutei Sichos.